How can I, F20, be less uncomfortable with my boyfriend, M23, looking at random women on Instagram? I asked this on another page but wanted different perspectives. This only started like a month and a half ago. This was never a problem in the year and a half we've been together. His explore page is always full of girls half naked or shaking their ass. I've tried to talk to him about it but he gets super defensive and tells me I need to just get over it. I know guys look, but it's the fact that it's constant and that he refuses to have a real conversation with me about anything. He is not a good communicator and he hasn't been our whole relationship. I did mention the other day that it was all the time, and I can't get over it if you're always doing it. He did calm it down a little bit, but what that means is he just stayed off Instagram in front of me. He also follows a bunch of random girls that he find on his explore page and often likes the pictures they post, pictures with their tits/ass out. He doesn't usually like the regular ones, just the ones where they're trying to be sexy. What can I do to be more secure and trusting and less uncomfortable with it? I know I'm really insecure, so that definitely plays into it. I don't want him to hide it because I feel like hiding means you're doing something wrong, but I also don't want to see it all the time. I don't want him to feel like he can't even open Instagram in front of me. I just don't know what to do. I don't look anything like those girls, so it makes me feel like shit that he's looking at them all the time. Any advice would be awesome. He's the man I want to marry, but I'm really lost right now on what to do. How can we make this work? I don't want to leave him. I don't know why he's doing it so much now rather than before. Too long didn't read. I love him and I know he loves me, but I don't know how to love myself more and care about this stuff less. I want this to work so bad. How to get over the fact that he's disrespecting your relationship. Being more trusting and insecure when he is disrespecting you? Do you really want to marry someone that openly looks at ass and tits of random ig in front of you? I'm sorry, you can't make this relationship work when you're the only one doing the work. And for your question wondering why he does that so much now, my guess is that he's always been doing it, just not in front of you. Difference is now he don't care about you so much that he does it in front of you. Now I'm asking you, does he really loves you? You said you know he loves you. Are you sure? Is this really love? You are right, you need to love yourself more and care less about him. I'm to put some serious boundaries here. News flash, you are allowed to be uncomfortable about your boyfriend's Instagram activity. You better believe you would be if you did the same thing. This might be an unpopular opinion, but I don't think you need to get over it. I would not be remotely okay with my so doing this. I would feel disrespected and demand that he stops. It's one thing to feel like watching some porn occasionally, and looking up a couple of videos or pics in private and for that specific moment. But it wouldn't even cross my mind to fill my Instagram feed with shirtless buff dudes and spend my days scrolling through them, and liking the hottest ones. I find that disrespectful and inappropriate for someone who is in a relationship, according to my values. I know everyone is different. I wouldn't have the energy or need for that anyway, because I find my fiancé so gorgeous, and I'm constantly kissing him, touching him, complimenting him. I sometimes watch him while he bursts out laughing at a movie, and I stare at his ass while he walks away. Summing up, I focus all of my sexual and romantic energy on him. Your boyfriend sounds immature and not such a great partner in general. I would stand up for myself and ask him to keep his public Instagram free from this kind of content out of respect for me. He can look up content like this on Google if he must when he's feeling horny, but I don't need to know about it, or the rest of the world for that matter. Instagram is public after all. I think you're asking the wrong question. Instead of how can I be less uncomfortable, I think the question is why isn't my partner doing their best to help me feel secure in this relationship? What I think is wonderful is that you're noticing how you feel. You're young, you're growing, and the part of you that is going to be an absolute badass in a few years is waking up, dusting herself off, and saying oh hell no. So, here are some questions you might consider asking your boyfriend. I've told you this makes me uncomfortable. Why won't you stop? What are you going to do today / this week / this month to help me feel loved and respected? What have you done last week / last month to help me feel loved and respected? What does a healthy relationship look like to you? Do you feel that I have the right to express my feelings in this relationship and have them respected? What resources will you be looking up to learn how to be a better partner? When will that happen? When will you tell me what you've learned and what you'd like to try? See how respect came up a lot in the above questions? That's because, in your above story, it's very obvious to this 40-year-old woman that he doesn't respect you. And here's the really cool part: if you don't feel comfortable asking him even one of those questions, you have your answer. A healthy, awesome, respectful relationship has room in it for questions like these. If you can't ask a partner curious questions like these, it's time to leave. He's not willing to behave or even talk about it, and you're not able to get over it, so I'd suggest either the self-respect route: tell him you would like to be in a relationship where you feel respected instead of ignored and quite possibly end it. Or the petty / eye for an eye route: do the same thing to him and follow a lot of male swimsuit models, etc. And tell him he's right and you never realized how fun this is, and to get over it when he doesn't calm down. Good luck. My presumed future in-laws expect me to raise their adult son forever. How do I talk about it? I've been with my partner since we were 18 and we're coming up on a decade now. Though I love my partner and his family, I have been hesitant on future talk because I'm worried about committing to the family dynamic for a lifetime. His brother is 34 years old and still living at home with his parents. It is very obvious, to me at least, bro is on the autism spectrum, though the parents never acknowledge it. Seriously, in 10 years no one has uttered the word. Sometimes they refer to him as ADHD, but it's more than that. He's extremely high functioning, I know this is an outdated term, and has a decent job, one good friend and a solid hobby. He just doesn't do or want anything. He spends all day watching TV, all day, even during the pandemic, the same spot for 14 hours. All of his conversations seem to be running on a script, almost the same questions, to everyone. He doesn't know how to move a conversation organically. He also shows some soft signs like not making eye contact, improper speech inflections, and really struggling with knowing how people around him are feeling. This is actually becoming an issue because he teases people he likes but can't read when they're starting to get upset. In all the years I've known him, he's never had plans. He sits on the couch in the same spot all day watching 90s Nick cartoons unless his parents ask him to do a task. He's never expressed a willingness to have new experiences for fun, travel, or for life. He says he wants a girlfriend when prompted but never leaves the house unless parents tell him to. He doesn't clean, doesn't cook, doesn't really go out of his way to do anything really. My partner's parents are getting up there in age, and I love his brother, but there is a sort of expectation we will be the ones taking care of him when parents are gone. And I'm not even particularly opposed to this. I just think it's bizarre something so obvious is never acknowledged. I want an honest conversation about it, not a presumed transference of responsibility. My partner's parents are smart people. They know the signs. They have friends with kids and grandkids on the spectrum. They have to know, right? My partner has also never breached the subject with them before. I have made it absolutely clear to him I will not be committing to him without that conversation out of the way, but he's also at a loss of how to start after so long of never talking about it. He's also convinced his mom will melt down if her denial is confronted. How do you handle this? I feel like I can't wait for my SO to make the first move with his parents anymore because it's my life too, and it's obviously bothering me way more than it is him. In a lot of ways, I think he's just so used to it he doesn't even realize how strange the situation is. How do you tell two perfectly intelligent adults that this man they raised has a developmental disability that's apparently obvious to everyone but them? Also, mostly, how do I support my partner's brother? How do you encourage someone to want life? How do you make someone willing to be independent as a fully grown adult when they're perfectly content having all their needs met by their parents? Please give me any advice. I've been churning this problem over for so many years I'm out of ideas. I need to know what to say, how to say it, who to talk to. I think I have to be prepared for them to get really offended, so I would like to handle it with as much grace and tact as possible. Too long didn't read. My partner's family never acknowledged their other son's disability and raised a very dependent adult. I am set up to step up to the plate next. How do I proceed? I may be reading too much into this, but it reads mostly like you've already resigned yourself to being his brother's caretaker after your father and mother-in-law are gone. I realize you're pressing for a serious conversation to affirm this, but you also seem to be suggesting it will never happen. I'd say you need to decide how important that conversation is to you. If you must have it, then you must demand it. If you'd like to have it, but don't need it, then you might want to prepare yourself to just be disappointed yet hope for the best. I hope that helps. Hey, I'm also the type of person who wants to prepare everything years in advance. Something I've had to learn to do is know when to say this is not my problem at this time. There is nothing for you to do in this situation. The problem may be your problem sometime in the future, but as it is a hard subject and it is not your problem now because nobody is willing to talk about it now. And let's be real, the future landscape could be very different than now, so maybe it's not worth spending a lot of time on. Know that it is not your responsibility to take care of this man. It is lovely of you decide to do so, but there are homes for this as well. If your so is up for it, talk it through with him for both of your comfort. If not, let it be. Oh my god, I can hear my old therapist laughing at this comment. You hit the nail on the head. I do tend to worry about things that don't exist in the present reality and probably need to chill. Thanks for the reality check, haha. It sounds to me that the thing that is actually missing is him doing chores, cooking and such. You can't make him want different life that he has, and I am not sure why would you try to fix that. He is 34, he won't find girlfriend and have kids, plus it sounds like he does not actually want to. He's extremely high functioning, I know this is an outdated term, and has a decent job, one good friend and a solid hobby. He just doesn't do or want anything. How do you encourage someone to want life? How do you make someone willing to be independent as a fully grown adult when they're perfectly content having all their needs met by their parents? He has life, just ritualized autistic one that you would hate. He is fairly independent sounds to me, expect cooking and chores. You cannot make him unautistic. Can communicate around unpleasant teasing, set boundaries etc. That all is important. What would caretaking take? Realistically, this is discussion to have with your partner. Do you want brother to go to therapy? What you expect from that therapy? These are sort of questions that you need to be clear about. The parents acknowledge his autism is to large extent non-consequential. I'm confused. How is there this expectation that your partner is going to have to take care of his brother when the subject has never been brought up? You paint a big picture of the brother being incapable of basic tasks and all the rest of it, but I'm wondering how much of this helplessness isn't really to do with his suspected autism but just down to his parents being unable to delegate him any responsibility. I mean, if he holds a decent job and isn't getting into problems there, at least you don't mention any. How incompetent can he really be? If he has a decent paying job and doesn't actually do anything outside of work, where is all his money going? Ask because it could well be feasible for him to eventually live alone and pay for a maid or something like that, or even move into an assisted living community, if he has the money. Either way, you need to talk about this properly with your partner and then together with the parents. If you have to know what the future holds, or at least what their collective plan is, then you need to bring it up. How do you begin? We need to talk about brother is as good a way as any. I'm 34/M, having concerns about my marriage with my wife, 32/F. I just want to start by saying I love my life. Honestly, we have one boat a day. I fucked up a child together and I cannot imagine life without her, which is why this hurts every time this happens. Whenever we're approaching her time of the month, she gets, let's say, insatiable. I love the intimacy I have with my wife, but I have limits these days. Maybe I've got low testosterone, but it takes up a little longer than it used to generate the stamina I need. This is completely unacceptable to her when she is in this state of mind. I get accusations of cheating, of not thinking she's attractive anymore, and of not being in love with her. And to be clear, we could have sex 3 to 4 times, and it would be the last time where I say I can't go that sets her off and makes her upset. Any time outside of this week-long period, we have zero issues. Something always comes to a head at these specific times though, where I cannot say the right thing, words are twisted, and it seems she goes out of her way to twist and contort my words to further hurt her feelings. When she's like this, it tears me apart inside. I feel so comfortable in our relationship that hearing all this jerks me out of my reality, I guess, and I am always caught off guard. For the latest issue, I am currently in transit to a temporary duty location. I'll be gone for a couple months. I've been gone a matter of days so far. She was getting a little frisky on the phone, and I guess I didn't seem excited enough for it. I can be pretty awkward, but I've never been a fan of showing stuff over the phone, and I really don't know how to react when I'm presented with it. She promptly hung up on me and began texting me with the same stuff she usually says. My head is in knots, and, even though I'm sure everything will be fine in the end, it still concerns me every time this happens. She says she deserves someone who is crazy about her. She thinks I'm cheating on her. For the record, I have never cheated in any relationship. I consider myself a very faithful person, and if it ever got bad enough to where I wanted to be with someone else, I would not disrespect my current partner by lying about it or leading some kind of second life. She has threatened divorce a couple times, but I swear it's like night and day. When she gets done with her period, she is back to normal, and she basically pretends like what happened never did, and she refuses to talk about it. I feel like I'm being gaslighted. Has anyone had a relationship like this? Was there something that you did to make it work? I'm going to buy testosterone supplements to see if that's a problem. I love my wife and would do anything to make her happy, but she messes with my head pretty good sometimes. Too long didn't read. My wife goes through moods of resentment when I can't give her everything she desires sexually. 9 times out of 10 we're fine, but that one is really bad, and it's recurring on a regular schedule. Is my marriage okay?